stop everything. Because what you're about to hear isn't just celebrity gossip, it's a full-blown explosion that's tearing through relationships, reputations, and secrets people thought were buried forever. This is the moment everything changed. Because just when the internet thought the drama between Remy, Claressa Shields, and Papoose couldn't get messier, a storm of leaked footage, shocking accusations, and behind-the-scenes betrayals has surfaced. And it's so explosive, insiders are saying this could be the most chaotic celebrity scandal of the decade. We're talking secret recordings that were never supposed to be heard, private FaceTime calls that were allegedly captured without consent, and a twist so wild, it flips everything you thought you knew about who was loyal and who was playing the game all along. Oh, but here's where it gets even crazier. Because right when Claressa thought she could control the narrative, someone stepped in with receipts so undeniable, so detailed, and so damaging that the entire story spiraled out of control in real time. And Remy Ma, she didn't just respond. She watched, calculated, and then delivered a reaction so cold, so sharp, and so intentional, fans are now saying this wasn't just a clapback. This was a warning. A warning that something much bigger has been happening behind the scenes. Something that involves lies, manipulation, and a relationship triangle that might not have been real from the start. And trust me, what's coming next? Nobody is ready for it. The moment those receipts hit the internet, everything cracked wide open, and suddenly, the narrative Claressa thought she had under control started slipping through her fingers like sand. Because this wasn't just gossip anymore. This was evidence. And the internet? Oh, it turned into a courtroom overnight. Clips started circulating, grainy, shaky, clearly never meant for public eyes, showing what looked like private moments inside Claressa's home. Not just random visits, not casual drop-ins, but repeated, comfortable, almost too familiar interactions that had people asking one question over and over again. How deep did this really go? And just when people thought it couldn't get worse, the audio dropped. A leaked phone call, unedited, unfiltered, raw. You could hear Claressa's voice, tense, defensive, trying to stay composed, but there was something underneath it, something shaky, something exposed. She wasn't just explaining, she was scrambling, trying to piece together a version of events that didn't quite line up with what people were already seeing. And then came the moment that changed everything. The other voice on the call, calm at first, almost amused, started filling in gaps that Claressa clearly didn't expect to be filled publicly. Details about time spent together, about late nights, about private conversations that weren't supposed to leave those walls. And just like that, the internet stopped asking if something happened. They started asking how long it had been happening. Meanwhile, Papoose, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly became the center of a different kind of attention. Because people weren't just questioning Claressa anymore. They were questioning him. Old clips resurfaced, interviews, posts. Moments where he seemed just a little too comfortable, a little too invested, a little too involved for someone who was supposed to be standing on solid ground somewhere else. And that's when the timeline started forming. Internet detectives, moving faster than any newsroom, began stitching together appearances, holidays, social media gaps, and suspicious overlaps. And one date kept coming up again and again: Christmas. Because while one side of the story painted a quiet, family-centered holiday, another version started to emerge, one that included unexpected company, unseen moments, and according to insiders, a presence that was never supposed to be confirmed. That's when things went nuclear. Because a second leak surfaced. This time, not just audio, but alleged video snippets. Short, blurry, but enough. Enough to suggest that while one narrative was being presented publicly, something entirely different was unfolding behind closed doors. And the reaction? Immediate chaos. Twitter exploded. Fans split into camps overnight, some defending Claressa, saying it was all a setup, a calculated smear campaign fueled by jealousy and industry politics. Others? They weren't buying it. They pointed to the consistency in the leaks, the way the details aligned, the body language, the tone, the timing. "It's too much to be fake," one viral post read. And within hours, hashtags started trending, dragging everyone involved deeper into the spotlight. But then, just when it seemed like Claressa might be cornered, she did something nobody expected. She doubled down, jumped online, confident, assertive, unbothered, at least on the surface. She claimed the entire situation was being twisted, that people were reaching, that the man at the centre of the allegations was nothing more than an acquaintance, someone who had been around but meant nothing. And for a brief moment, it worked. Her fans rallied, defended her, pushed back against the accusations. But that moment didn't last long, because behind the scenes, something else was already in motion. Another voice, another perspective. And this one wasn't trying to stay quiet anymore. Maserati Bud. Up until that point, he had been more rumour than reality, a name floating around in whispers and captions. But now, he stepped forward. And what he said didn't just poke holes in Claressa's story, it tore straight through it. He didn't come in loud, he came in precise, detailing interactions that went beyond coincidence, describing time spent together that couldn't be dismissed as casual. And most importantly, he addressed the recordings, confirmed them, expanded on them, and then dropped the line that sent shockwaves across every platform. "I was there. More than people think." That was it. That was the moment the narrative flipped completely. Because now it wasn't just speculation. It was conflicting testimonies. And the public? They were glued to every second. Meanwhile, whispers started circulating about how Claressa had allegedly tried to keep certain things from surfacing. Messages sent behind the scenes, requests to take posts down, warnings, even talk of legal threats to silence early leaks before they could gain traction. At the time, those moves went unnoticed, but now they looked different, strategic, desperate, calculated. And people started connecting dots that had been sitting in plain sight all along. But through all of this chaos, all of this noise, there was one person who hadn't fully stepped into the spotlight yet: Remy Ma. Oh, she had made comments before, subtle jabs, cryptic posts, statements that, at the time, people brushed off as emotional fallout. But now, those same words were being replayed, analysed, reinterpreted. And suddenly, they didn't sound bitter anymore. They sounded accurate, like she had seen something coming long before anyone else did. And when she finally reacted to the latest wave of drama, it wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was controlled, too controlled. A calm response that somehow hit harder than any rant could have. She didn't need to say much, just enough to make it clear. She knew more than she was letting on. And that silence, that restraint, it made people nervous. Because in situations like this, the quiet ones usually have the most to reveal. But here's where everything takes an even darker turn. Because just as the internet was digesting Maserati's statements and dissecting Claressa's response, a new claim surfaced. One that nobody saw coming. Allegations that there might be even more footage. Not just what had already leaked, but something bigger, something clearer, something that, if released, could completely destroy whatever version of the truth was still being held together. And according to multiple sources, that footage exists, and someone is holding on to it, waiting, watching, timing everything. And the scariest part? Nobody knows who's going to drop it first, or when. But what's undeniable now is that this situation is no longer under anyone's control. Not Claressa's, not Papoose's, not even Remy Ma's, because the internet has taken over. And when that happens, there's no stopping what comes next. And just as things reached what felt like the peak, a cryptic message appeared online, posted, and then deleted within minutes. But not before screenshots spread like wildfire. 6 words. That's all it was. 6 words that sent chills through everyone following the story. You haven't seen the worst yet. That message didn't just shake the internet, it ignited it. Because now this wasn't just about what had already leaked. It was about what was still hidden. And suddenly everyone started looking at everyone differently. Because if there was more footage, more audio, more proof, who had it? And more importantly, who was about to drop it? Within hours, anonymous accounts began popping up out of nowhere. Burner profiles with 0 followers, posting cryptic snippets, blurred screenshots, distorted audio clips that sounded just real enough to make people uneasy, not clear enough to confirm, but too specific to ignore. One clip in particular had people spiraling. It was muffled, chaotic, voices overlapping, but listeners swore they could make out Claressa's voice again. This time not defensive, but angry, frustrated, accusing someone of playing both sides. And that phrase? It sent the internet into detective mode all over again. Because now the question wasn't just about cheating, it was about betrayal on multiple levels. Who was playing both sides? Was it Papoose? Was it Maserati? Or was someone else entirely involved in a situation way more layered than anyone originally thought? Meanwhile, Claressa's online presence started shifting. Gone was the confident, unbothered energy. Now every post felt calculated. Every caption, carefully worded. Comments started getting limited, then turned off completely. And that silence? It didn't protect her. It made things louder, because in the absence of answers, people create their own. And oh, they did. Threads began going viral. Long, detailed breakdowns of timelines, alleged sightings, overlapping dates that painted a picture far messier than anything that had been confirmed publicly. One thread in particular gained millions of views overnight. It claimed that while Claressa was publicly aligning herself with Papoose, there were multiple instances where she was seen in entirely different circles. Late-night studio sessions, private gatherings, locations that didn't match the story she was telling. And then came the bombshell within the bombshell. According to this thread, Maserati Bud wasn't the only one. That's when everything shifted from messy to dangerous. Because if that was true, then this wasn't a love triangle. This was a full-blown web. And at the center of it, someone who might have been controlling multiple narratives at once. But just as that theory started gaining traction, Papoose finally broke his silence, and nobody was ready for how he did it. No polished statement, no press release, just a sudden appearance, live, unfiltered, and visibly tense. At first, when he tried to stay composed, tried to downplay everything, said people were reaching, said the internet was twisting things. But then, something cracked, because halfway through, he paused, looked off camera, and his entire tone changed. It wasn't denial anymore. It was frustration. He started asking questions, rhetorical, sharp, almost like he was speaking to someone specific without naming them. Why certain things keep coming out now? Why certain people waited until this moment? Why the story keeps changing? And then, the moment that made everything spiral even further. He said one sentence that instantly went viral. "I'm not the only one being lied to." That was it. That was all it took. Because now, the narrative flipped again. Now people weren't just questioning Claressa. They were wondering if Papoose himself had been caught in something he didn't fully understand, or worse, something he ignored until it was too late. And just when that confusion started building, another leak dropped. This time, screenshots. Alleged direct messages, time-stamped, detailed, and if real, devastating. They showed conversations that didn't match Claressa's public statements, messages that hinted at emotional involvement, at secrecy, at coordination, and the tone. It wasn't distant, it wasn't casual, it was intimate. too intimate to brush off as nothing. Within minutes, those screenshots were everywhere. Reposted, zoomed in, analysed word by word. And once again, the internet chose sides. Some said they were fake, fabricated, too convenient, but others pointed out the details, the language, the timing, the consistency with previous leaks. "It lines up too perfectly," one viral post said. And just like that, the pressure hit a new level. But here's where it gets even more intense, because behind all of this, Remy Ma moved, not loudly, not publicly, but strategically. Insiders started whispering that she had been in contact with certain people involved in the situation, that she had access to information nobody else had seen yet, that her silence wasn't passive. It was intentional, calculated, like she was waiting for the exact right moment to step in and shift everything. And then a clip surfaced, short, only a few seconds long, but it was enough. It showed Remy, calm, collected, speaking to someone off camera. Her voice low, controlled, but the words sharp enough to cut through everything. "But I tried to stay quiet, but don't push me there." That clip spread like wildfire, because it didn't sound like someone reacting emotionally. It sounded like someone issuing a final warning. And suddenly, the focus shifted again. Because if Remy really had more information, if she really knew something bigger, then the entire situation might be sitting on top of something way deeper than anyone realized. And that's when the fear set in. Because scandals like this, they don't just expose relationships, they expose patterns, histories, secrets that were never meant to connect. And according to multiple insiders now speaking anonymously, there are connections between people, between timelines, between events that until now seemed completely unrelated. But if those connections come out, it wouldn't just damage reputations, it could end them. And as the tension kept building, as the leaks kept coming, as the silence from certain people grew louder and louder, one final detail emerged, quietly, almost unnoticed at first. But once people caught it, everything changed again. Because someone had allegedly been recording everything. Not just one call, not just one moment, but multiple interactions across different days, different locations, different people. And if that archive is real, then what we've seen so far is just the beginning. And the scariest part? There are rumors that it's about to be released, all at once, unedited, unfiltered, uncontainable. And if that happens, there won't be any more controlling the narrative, no more explanations, no more damage control, just the truth. Or at least, a version of it so raw, it could destroy everyone involved. And just as people were trying to process that, another post appeared. No caption, no explanation, just a black screen with white text, 5 words that made everything feel like it was about to explode. Tonight, everything goes public. The clock started ticking the second that post went live. No explanations, no previews, no mercy, just a promise. That by the end of the night, everything would change. And the internet? It didn't sleep. Live streams popped up, spaces filled instantly, millions of people refreshing timelines over and over like they were waiting for the world to end or begin all over again. Because at this point, it wasn't just curiosity, it was obsession. People needed to know what was in that footage. What could possibly be so explosive, so damaging, that it had been held back this long? And then it dropped. And no countdown, no warning, just a link. And within seconds, it spread like wildfire. At first, people didn't even believe it was real. But then, they clicked, and everything went silent. Because what they saw wasn't rumors, wasn't speculation. It was raw, unedited, and impossible to ignore. The footage, allegedly captured across multiple moments, showed interactions that instantly shattered every public statement that had been made up until that point. Not just casual meetings, not just friendly conversations, but a level of familiarity, of comfort, of connection. That told a completely different story. And the most shocking part? The timeline. Because as people started analysing the clips, matching outfits, timestamps, our surroundings, it became clear that some of these moments overlapped with times when entirely different narratives were being presented publicly. In other words, while one story was being told to the world, another was playing out behind closed doors. And now, there was proof. But it didn't stop there. Because mixed into the footage were conversations. Real ones. Not polished, not filtered, voices raised, emotions spilling over. At one point, a heated exchange could be heard, Claressa's voice unmistakable, accusing someone of turning everything into a game. And the response? Cold, dismissive. A voice replying, "You knew what this was." That line alone sent shockwaves through every platform. Because suddenly, this didn't look like confusion, it looked like awareness. Like choices had been made, like risks had been taken knowingly. And now, the consequences were playing out in real time. Within minutes, the internet erupted, not divided this time, overwhelmed, because there was too much, too many clips, too many angles, too many details that people hadn't even had time to process before new ones surfaced. And right in the middle of that chaos, cameras caught something nobody expected. Claressa, leave, unplanned, and visibly shaken. Gone was the confidence, gone was the control. This wasn't a statement. This was a breakdown. Her voice cracked as she tried to speak, trying to explain, to clarify, to push back, but every sentence seemed to collapse under the weight of what people had already seen. She denied parts, admitted to others, contradicted herself in real time. And the comments? They moved faster than she could keep up, people calling out inconsistencies, and reposting clips side by side with her words, pointing out details she couldn't explain away. And for the first time, it looked like she had lost control completely. But just as that moment peaked, another one hit. Because Papoose reappeared, and this time, there was no confusion, no questions, just anger, pure, unfiltered anger. He didn't yell, he didn't rant. He spoke slowly, deliberately, like every word had been sitting inside him, waiting. And when he finally said it, the internet froze. I saw everything. That was it. No elaboration, no context, just that. And somehow, it said everything. Because now it wasn't just public evidence, it was personal confirmation. And whatever he had seen, it changed him. You could hear it in his voice, see it in his face. This wasn't someone confused anymore. This was someone who had reached a conclusion. And that realization, it sent a ripple effect through everything. Because if he was done, then what came next wouldn't be messy. It would be final. And just when people thought they had reached the breaking point, Remy stepped in. For real this time. No more subtle posts. No more quiet reactions. She went live. And the energy? Ice cold. Controlled. But underneath it, fire. She didn't scream. She didn't insult. She didn't even mention names at first. She just started talking. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone laying out a story they had been holding on to for a long time. She spoke about patterns, about disrespect, about seeing things early and choosing silence, until silence became impossible. And then, she said the line that changed everything. I wasn't the one being played. The reaction? Instant. Because that sentence flipped the entire perspective again. Suddenly, people weren't just looking at Claressa or Papoose. They were looking at the entire situation as something bigger, something layered, something where not everyone was a victim. And not everyone was innocent. And just when it felt like she had said enough, she paused, looked directly into the camera, and added one final piece. A quiet, almost chilling statement. And I still haven't said everything. That was it. No follow-up, no explanation. She ended the live and left the internet in absolute chaos. Because now, after all the footage, all the leaks, all the statements, all the breakdowns, the biggest question wasn't what had already come out. It was what was still being held back. What does Remy know? What hasn't been exposed yet? And who else is involved? Because if this situation has proven anything, it's that every time people think they've reached the truth, another layer gets ripped open, another secret surfaces, another narrative collapses, and as the dust tries, and fails, to settle. One thing is painfully clear. This isn't over. Not even close. Because behind the scenes, phones are still ringing, messages are still being sent, and according to insiders, there are still people deciding whether to speak or stay silent. But after everything that's already come out, silence might not even be an option anymore. And if even one more person decides to talk, this entire situation could explode all over again. Bigger, messier, and more destructive than anything we've seen so far. Because in a scandal like this, and there's only one rule, the truth doesn't come out all at once. It comes out in pieces, and the most dangerous pieces are always the ones that haven't dropped yet. So the only question left is, who's next? And what are they about to reveal? Because whatever it is, it might finally answer everything, or destroy what's left of everyone involved. And if you think this story has reached its peak, you haven't been paying attention, because something tells me the worst part of this scandal still hasn't been exposed. And if your heart is still racing right now, if you're still trying to process everything you just heard, then you already know this story is far from over. Because what we uncovered today, that's just what made it to the surface. The real story, the hidden messages, the unseen footage, the conversations that haven't leaked yet, that's still out there. And it's only a matter of time before it all comes crashing down. So don't make the mistake of thinking you can just catch up later. Because by the time you do, you might have already missed the moment everything changes again. Hit that like button right now if you felt the intensity of this story, because every like pushes this deeper into the spotlight. And trust me, there are people who do not want this getting out. Drop your thoughts in the comments because I need to know, whose side are you on after all of this? Do you think this was betrayal? Or something even more calculated? And most importantly, subscribe. Because the second the next leak drops, and it will drop, you're going to want to be the first to know. We're talking real-time updates, deeper breakdowns, and the kind of inside details nobody else is putting together. Turn on notifications, stay locked in, and don't look away, because this isn't just drama anymore. This is a story that's unfolding live. And the next piece could change everything.